Good morning and welcome to what will hopefully be a series of short introductory presentations on important concepts within programming. My name is Eugene O'Regan and welcome aboard. So this morning we're starting off with a very easy topic, but a crucial one, the notion of variables. Variables basically they allow us to store information, but they are a topic which I find that some beginner programmers do tend to get confused with very quickly. So just a quick outline. Obviously, whenever you come across any concept, ask yourself three important concepts. Why? Okay, if you cannot answer why you are using a specific concept, don't bother using it. Don't use it. Don't use it. You don't understand it. You don't know why you need to use it, so don't use it. Secondly is obviously if you do know why you need to use it, then we need to know is how does that concept, in this case now variables, achieve our goal. And thirdly is what are the specific steps that we need to implement this concept. Okay, so the first question there obviously is why. Okay, so I'm giving an example here, and the example that I'm giving here is the weekly shop. Okay, so you go into whatever store and you're getting your weekly shop for that week. So realistically, we all know that we start off with an imaginary figure, a figure within our mind of what is in our bank balance, whether that's true or false or whatever, high or low. But what we need to do is we need to ensure whatever we do buy is beneath that figure. Okay, so let's put it this way. I go in and as I pick up items and put them into the shopping trolley, okay, obviously one apple, yeah, about 50-60 cents, it goes in. My overall total here in my mind has gone up by 50-60 cents. Then obviously remaining contemporary, hand cleanser, make sure you have your hand cleanser, about 150 goes into the shopping trolley. So now we're talking about €220 of an overall total. So what actually happens in our mind is the overall total, okay, is obviously the first item, obviously the apple, and it gets the overall total is about 50-60 cents. Then we put in our hand sanitizer into the container and our shopping trolley, and the overall total gets then changed to about €2.20, €2.30. But then, like in most of our stores, you come across something that you might not need, but like bass strings. Okay, everybody needs bass strings. Get your bass strings. Okay, it goes in. So now our overall, what the hell happened there? Our overall total now has gone from about 220. Bass strings are about €30, so it's gone whoop. Okay, but what we need to do, obviously, in our own mind, we need to ensure that the overall total is matched at least by the cash that we have on present, but also too is that in the context of budget, that how much we can afford to spend now in relation to our budget later on the week or the month. So in our mind we would do that as a running total, but for a program, remember, this is one essential point, we need to write in the baby steps of our program. We would use variables as storage points for those figures. Okay, so how do variables help us? Okay, you could define a variable as a specific container to hold values that are important to the program. Okay, like the program, or not the program, but the algorithm that I was showing earlier, basically the running total as we went along doing our shopping. So a variable, it can obviously be created and given an initial value, okay, and that will be at the start of the program or as we need the variable. Okay, several programming languages have their variables at the start of a program. Other ones like Java, as we need a variable, we can declare it. Okay, obviously you can modify your variable. It can be changed, it can be reset, it can be deleted. Then, more importantly, in the context of our program, this variable's value can be examined. It can be used in tests. In other words, have I spent more than my bank balance or my cash balance at the moment? If I have, I obviously, embarrassment at the checkout. If not, hey, we're home and we've got our bass strings onto the bass. Okay, obviously variables can be copied or moved. Okay, internally within the programs, they can be moved about and they can be used within the program, and they can be copied to other variables and so forth like that, but also externally to other programs and applications. You will be using databases and so forth like that later on, so obviously that will be important. Okay, that we can exchange data between our program to other applications, i.e. databases, through the use of variables. Variables can be categorized under two main categories, i.e. their type or their function, and also their capacity. Now, the type or data type specifically is what type of information does this variable hold. Is this variable numeric, i.e. pi, 22/7? Also too, when you're talking about numeric variables, you could be talking about whole numbers, decimal numbers and so forth, positive numbers and negative numbers. We will see later on how we will deal with both. It could be alphabetic in nature, the variable. A name, okay? We would use a string in that context. It could also be a Boolean value. Is on or is on. Is this true or false? That could be the state of a light, okay? Is on. Is it true or false? Okay, and typically you would use a Boolean data type to do that. Now in some, again, programming languages, the data type is very, very strong. In other words, that you need to specify exactly what data type the variable is. In others, it allows you to just declare a variable as a variable, and then it will decide what type as you need it, particularly in JavaScript. In Java, yes, you do have to have the data type specified at the start. And I suppose then we must look at the steps. Okay, how do we set up a variable and how do we use them? So on the left hand side here, we've got our important steps, but also then we've got an example. So number one, we create our variable and its type, and the coding term is declaring. Okay, so we've got int overall total, declaring an integer, in other words a full number, and we're going to give it a name, overall total. So whenever we need to use this variable here, okay, we use it by its name, overall total. We give it a starting value, okay, overall total is equal to 0. Then, as we need to going down through the program, we can modify this value. Now, in this case here in 3, we're saying overall total is equal to overall total price of beans. Okay, price of a can of beans, as stated in our example a couple of minutes ago. Now, notice one thing here. In most programming languages, this is known, okay, as assigning. Okay, it's like there, okay, you're assigning whatever is on the right hand side to whatever is on the left hand side. You can see that on lines 2 and 3 here, that basically whatever mathematical operation you're doing here, you're assigning it over to here. The last thing here which I specify here is copying to another variable. I'm specifying here an integer called receipt total, and I'm assigning the value of overall total to that. Okay, so we're copying the variable to another variable. Now, as a small bit of an aside, okay, for yourselves, for a small exercise, I want you to see, are there potential problems with the above implementation? I can see various errors and various potential problems, but also too is this, is I want you to look through this, pause the video, look through it, see what you think is wrong, and see maybe even not necessarily wrong, but you might improve it in some way. Okay, that is the basis of teaching. You have to be able to question what is shown in front of you and be able to at least discuss. So the last thing here is a bit of a small exercise, and obviously I will place this receipt. Okay, I just want to just get rid of my camera there for a split second. What was I going to say is, you can see here a receipt on the right hand side there. Okay, and you can see what I want you to do is look through this receipt. And obviously, as we look through it, we can find these values very, very quickly. I'm not going to go through it now, but we could find out the most expensive good, the least expensive good, and the average price of goods. And it is actually a good example of where you go through that. Now remember, if we're to develop an algorithm that we are going to eventually write into code, we must, okay, do the baby steps of this algorithm, okay, and then translate that into code. Remember, as I said before, our mind can work a million times faster than any computer, and we skip over steps that a computer would necessarily would have to be told, okay, do this, 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 and this, whereas we would kind of look through this, like let's just say the least expensive good. What we would do is look through it, scan through it, and I'd say the least expensive good there is this one there at 99 cent. Okay, 99 herb cilantro bunch. Okay, now if you think about it, what I actually did there, and this is a bit of a hint, is I started off with the first item, and I said, okay, for the first item, I know that the first item is both the most expensive and the least expensive. And as I went through it, I compared the price of the first item to the price of, let's say, the second item. Is it greater than the first item? It's not. So the first item is still the most expensive. Is it less than the price of the first item? It is. So the first item is still the most expensive, but now the second item is the least expensive. Now, what you can do is, obviously, you don't necessarily need to have one variable taking care of everything. You can have as many variables as you want. But what I want you to do is forget about coding and just look through the very basic steps of going through it. Also, two other small things here is enter good data type to use and why or why not. And also, too, just a kind of an opinion here. Could this receipt be improved upon? Could there be more details shown? Could there be less details shown? And could it be, I suppose, presented a bit better? I don't know. That's up to you. I would like you to take about 10 or 15 minutes to do this and also ask in any doubt. But the most important thing is, please write out your answers, thoughts and assumptions. And finally there, okay, is just a few links here. Okay, I always swear by tutorial points and W3 schools for anything. So please, okay, make sure to use them, and we will be using them thoroughly throughout this course. Okay, I hope to come back with another video pretty soon on another concept developing onto this one and using the notion of the if and the switch statement to make decision processes within your programs. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for listening and watching. Goodbye.